Hello. There is a moment in a man's life when he realizes he's already dead. It's not when the betrayal happens. No, that's just the knife sliding in. The real death comes later, when you look around and see that the people you loved are the ones holding the blade, twisting it deeper, making sure you bleed out completely. My name is Daniel Reed. For 17 years, I was a husband. A father. A provider. I believed in loyalty, in sacrifice, in the unshakable foundation of family. I worked my hands raw to give my wife and son everything they could ever need. I never cheated. Never strayed. Never gave them a reason to doubt me. I was a fool. Because in the end, it wasn't just my wife who betrayed me. It was my own blood, my own flesh. My son. My friends. My parents. Everyone. But that's not where this starts. No, the real beginning was the night I came home early. It was a cold November evening, the kind that sinks into your bones. I had stopped at Lisa's favorite Thai place to surprise her with dinner, feeling guilty for the late nights I'd been putting in at work. I thought maybe we could sit together, just the two of us, like we used to before life got so distant. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw it. A sleek black BMW. Not mine. Not hers. My heartbeat slowed. My hands clenched around the plastic bag of food. I don't know why, but I already knew. The human body has a way of sensing when it's about to be destroyed. I stepped inside. The house was warm, cozy. It smelled of wine and perfume. And then, laughter. Lisa's laughter. The kind I hadn't heard in years, the kind that used to be reserved for me. I followed the sound into the living room. And there he was. Some polished, suit-wearing bastard sitting on my couch, one arm lazily draped along the back, a whiskey glass in his hand. Lisa was beside him, curled into him like a goddamn lover, her fingers tracing the rim of her own glass. She didn't see me at first. She was too busy looking at him. Then she turned. And when her eyes met mine, I saw it. Not shock. Not guilt. Annoyance. Like I was interrupting something. Like I was an afterthought. Dan, she said, exhaling my name like a burden. I just stood there. I think I was waiting for the floor to open up and swallow me. Waiting for reality to shift back into something I could understand. Neither of them moved. Neither of them scrambled to fix the scene, to make excuses, to pretend. Because they didn't have to. Because they already knew. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a one-time thing. This was something they had done in my home, on my couch, drinking my whiskey, laughing at some joke I'd never be a part of. And as I stood there, gripping a plastic bag of takeout like an idiot, I realized something. This wasn't just about my wife. This was the beginning of the end of my life. And when it was over, I'd be the only one buried. There is a special kind of silence that follows devastation. Not the silence of an empty house or a lonely drive at night. No, this was something else, something thick, suffocating. A silence that swallowed everything, leaving only the sound of my own breathing, too loud, too uneven. Lisa didn't move. Neither did the man beside her. They sat there, waiting for me to speak, waiting for me to do something. Maybe they expected me to scream, to throw something, to demand answers. But what do you even say in a moment like that? I looked at her, really looked at her. The woman I married. The mother of my child. The person I had spent 17 years building a life with. She was dressed casually, like she hadn't even bothered to make an effort. A sweater, jeans, her hair loose around her shoulders. She wasn't nervous. Her fingers wrapped around the base of her wine glass, tapping against the crystal, as if I was the one inconveniencing her. And that was when I knew. This wasn't new. This wasn't a mistake, a one-time slip. She had done this before. Probably in this very room. Probably in our bed. The man beside her finally spoke, his voice calm, controlled, like he was the one who lived here, like I was the intruder. You're home early. Not who are you? Not Lisa, explain yourself. Just that. Lisa sighed. A long, exhausted exhale. Then she took a slow sip of wine, licking the drops from her lips, and said, well. I guess this is as good a time as any. I blinked. A good time for what? Then she set her glass down, folded her hands in her lap, and said the words that sealed my fate. Dan, I want a divorce. I think I stopped breathing. I had braced for a lie, a pathetic excuse, some desperate attempt to smooth over the situation. But this? She was looking me in the eye, completely unfazed, as if she had rehearsed this moment 1,000 times. Like she had been waiting for me to find out. Like she had wanted me to. I couldn't feel my hands. My legs. My own fucking body. It was like I was floating outside of myself, watching a stranger's life fall apart. The man beside her, her lover, leaned forward slightly, adjusting his expensive watch. He wasn't just some random fling. He was something more. I wanted to ask his name. I wanted to ask how long. I wanted to ask why. But what came out instead was a hollow, broken laugh. Lisa arched a brow, confused. Dan. Who the hell are you? I asked, turning to the man who had taken my wife. He met my gaze evenly. No shame. No hesitation. Matthew. Matthew. A simple, ordinary name. A name that meant nothing to me but had somehow managed to destroy my entire life. I turned back to Lisa, my mind struggling to catch up, to process this reality that didn't make sense. You want a divorce? She nodded. Yes. How long? Lisa sighed again, glancing at Matthew like she was checking to see if she should even bother answering. He gave a small shrug, and she turned back to me. Over a year. A year. 365 days of deception. 52 weeks of her lying next to me in bed, telling me she loved me. A year. The plastic bag in my hand slipped from my grip, the sound of takeout containers hitting the floor barely registering in my ears. I had thought the worst part of betrayal was the moment you discovered it. I was wrong. The worst part was realizing how long you had been a joke. I swallowed, trying to keep my voice steady. And our son? Lisa hesitated. A flicker of something crossed her face, but it wasn't guilt. More like calculation. I felt my stomach turn. What about him? She asked, too casually. I stared at her, something cold and sharp forming in my chest. You really think he's going to stay with you after this? Lisa smiled. And that's when I knew I had lost everything. Lisa's smile was small, practiced, the kind of smirk someone wears when they already know they've won. I felt sick. What do you mean, stay with you? I asked, my voice lower than I intended. Lisa took her time answering. She picked up her wine glass, swirled the liquid inside like we were discussing the weather, then finally spoke. I mean, she said, tapping her fingernails against the glass, Michael knows. A bomb went off inside my skull. What? Lisa glanced at Matthew. He didn't seem concerned, just patient, waiting for her to explain. He knew this part already. I was the only one in the dark. Michael knows about us, she said, as if it was nothing. As if she hadn't just ripped out my heart and tossed it into the garbage. My hands curled into fists. How long? Lisa took a sip of wine before answering, like I was some kind of interrogation she had grown bored with. A few months. I swayed on my feet. A few months. My son, our son, had known for months that his mother was cheating on me. And he hadn't said a word. I had always thought Michael and I were close. He was my boy, my pride, my greatest achievement. I had taught him how to ride a bike, how to throw a football, how to be a man. And yet, when faced with this, he had chosen her. Lisa must have seen the cracks forming in me because she leaned forward slightly, her tone softening like she was doing me a favor. Dan, we didn't want to hurt you. But you work so much, and Michael, well, he sees things differently. What does that mean? Lisa exhaled. He thinks you're controlling. Overbearing. I felt the words like a slap. Matthew finally spoke. Lisa and Michael have a different bond. They talk, Dan. A lot. I turned to him slowly, and for the first time, my rage outweighed my shock. You don't get to say his name. Matthew's face didn't change, but there was something in his eyes. Amusement. Like I was a child throwing a tantrum, and he was waiting for me to tire myself out. Lisa placed a hand on his knee, a silent reassurance. She turned back to me. Michael just wants what's best for everyone. No. That wasn't it. That wasn't what was happening. Michael had picked a side. And it wasn't mine. The realization slammed into me like a freight train. I was standing in my own home, staring at my wife and her lover, and my son, my own flesh and blood, had sided with them. I was alone. The weight of it was suffocating. I felt like I was drowning in a sea of betrayal, and no one was throwing me a rope. Lisa must have seen something in my face, because she shifted, almost looking guilty. Almost. Dan, she said carefully, this doesn't have to be ugly. I laughed. A harsh, broken sound. You think this isn't ugly? She ignored the question. We can figure this out peacefully. I took a slow, measured breath. You've already figured it out, haven't you? She hesitated. Then, yes. There it was. The execution of a man's soul. I felt the last remnants of my life slipping through my fingers like sand. Lisa straightened, smoothing her sweater like she was tying up a business deal. We can split custody, of course. But Michael, well, he's almost 18, Dan. He's made it clear that he wants to stay here. I nearly staggered back. Michael was choosing her. No, he was choosing them. The walls of my home, the home I had built, the home I had paid for, felt like they were closing in on me. I suddenly had the overwhelming urge to get out, to put distance between myself and this nightmare. Lisa must have sensed it because she stood, tilting her head in quiet expectation. Why don't you take some time? I looked at her. At Matthew. At everything I had lost. And then I walked out the door. I don't remember getting into my truck. I don't remember backing out of the driveway or turning onto the main road. All I remember is the sound of my own breathing, ragged, uneven, as I drove aimlessly through the city, headlights blurring into long, winding streaks. The world outside moved like a distant dream, something happening to someone else, while I sat behind the wheel of a life that no longer felt like mine. Michael knew. That thought alone was enough to hollow me out. I had always prided myself on being a good father. I was the one who taught him how to tie his shoes, how to shave, how to throw a goddamn football. I stayed up late helping him with homework, went to every single one of his soccer games. And yet, when it mattered most, he chose her. Not just her. Her and the man who had been fucking her behind my back. A laugh scraped out of my throat, raw, bitter. I had lost everything in a single night. The betrayal wasn't just Lisa's. It was my son's. My own blood had stood by while another man stole my wife, my home, my place in the world. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly I thought it might snap. How long had they been laughing at me? How long had I been the joke? I pictured them sitting together in the living room, whispering behind my back. Lisa, leaning in with that knowing smirk. He won't suspect a thing. He's too busy working. Michael, nodding along. Dad doesn't get it. He's so stuck in his ways. And then there was him. Matthew. The polished, suit-wearing prick who had waltzed into my home like he belonged there. The rage inside me burned hotter, brighter. I wanted to hurt him. I wanted to rip him apart with my bare hands, to make him feel even a fraction of what I was feeling. But what would that change? Lisa would still be gone. Michael would still see me as the villain. And I'd be the one sitting in a jail cell while they moved on like I had never existed. No. Violence wouldn't fix this. But that didn't mean I was going to roll over and die, either. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. Then it buzzed again. With a sharp inhale, I grabbed it, glancing at the screen. Michael. For a split second, I felt something stir inside me, something small, something fragile. Maybe he had changed his mind. Maybe he had realized what he was doing, how much this was tearing me apart. Maybe, just maybe, he was still my son. I answered. Silence on the other end. Then, his voice. Flat. Emotionless. Mom says you should get a hotel for the night. I nearly drove off the road. I had been holding out hope that maybe he was caught in the middle, that maybe Lisa had manipulated him into taking her side. But this? This was something else. My grip on the phone tightened. You're kicking me out of my own house. More silence. Then, it's not your house anymore. A quiet ringing filled my ears. It took me a second to realize it was my own pulse. I clenched my jaw so hard I thought my teeth might break. She put you up to this, didn't she? Michael exhaled through his nose. Not quite a sigh, but close. She didn't have to. That was it. That was when I knew there was no coming back from this. Michael wasn't on her side because he was confused, or manipulated, or too young to understand what was happening. He had made a choice. And that choice wasn't me. I swallowed hard, forcing the words out. You're really doing this? A beat of silence. Then, his voice, cold, distant. She's happier with him. I felt something inside me snap. I hung up. Threw the phone onto the passenger seat. And kept driving. Revenge. It slithered into my mind like a sickness, curling around my thoughts, tightening its grip until there was nothing else. I had never been a violent man. Never been the type to wish harm on anyone. But sitting there, gripping the steering wheel of my truck, listening to my own son tell me that his mother was happier with another man. Something inside me snapped. Not in a way that made me reckless. No, that would be too easy. This wasn't rage. Rage was mindless, sloppy, destructive. This was something colder. Lisa and Matthew had taken everything from me. My home. My dignity. My family. And they expected me to just disappear, to slink away into the shadows like some pathetic, beaten dog. They thought I was weak. They thought I had lost. They had no idea what was coming. I spent the next 3 days in silence, planning. I didn't call Lisa. I didn't beg for explanations. I didn't ask Michael to reconsider. I let them think I was gone, licking my wounds somewhere, drowning in my own misery. And while they relaxed, while they laughed and enjoyed the comfort of the life they had stolen, I set the stage for their ruin. Lisa had always cared about appearances. She thrived on being admired. The perfect wife, the perfect mother, the woman who had it all. She loved hosting charity events, mingling with influential people, being seen as better than others. Matthew? He was the same. An up-and-coming name at his law firm, obsessed with his reputation, with power, with control. They had built their new life on status. And that was exactly where I would strike first. Step 1, ruin the reputation. I started with Lisa. It was easy. Too easy. 17 years of marriage meant I had access to everything: old messages, social media passwords, email accounts. She was careless with her digital footprint, always assuming I'd never check. I dug through everything. And what I found would have made her friends turn against her. Old flirtations with men before Matthew. Lies she had told people about our marriage, playing the role of the suffering wife, even when I had done nothing but love her. Financial secrets, money she had hidden, stolen from our joint accounts, funneled into her own savings for months before I even knew she was cheating. And the best part? Explicit messages between her and Matthew, from when she was still my wife. Screenshots. Bank statements. Deleted texts recovered. I compiled it all into one neat, devastating package. Then, I sent it. To her parents. To her closest friends. To her charity organizations. To her employer. Everywhere that mattered. By the time she realized what had happened, her phone would be flooded with calls. She would be drowning in questions, in judgment, in shame. Lisa, the devoted wife. Gone. Lisa, the respected socialite. Destroyed. Lisa, the adored woman. Over. Step 2, destroy Matthew's career. Matthew had taken my wife. Now I would take everything from him. I did my research. His firm, McAllister and Gray, prided itself on integrity. They boasted about their high moral standards, their zero-tolerance policy for workplace misconduct. And Matthew? He had been sleeping with Lisa while she was still married to me. Adultery wasn't illegal. But in his world, in the world of corporate law, a scandal like this could end a career. I gathered the evidence, the explicit texts, the emails, the photos Lisa had so stupidly saved. Then, I sent them straight to his firm's senior partners. And just for good measure, I forwarded everything to the wives of his colleagues. By the time he walked into work that morning, the whispers would have already started. The disapproval. The disgust. Matthew, the rising star of his firm. Finished. Matthew, the man who replaced me. About to lose the life he had stolen. And I wasn't done yet. Step 3, make them turn on each other. Lisa and Matthew thought they were a team. Thought they had won. But what happens when everything starts to fall apart? What happens when the foundation they built their happiness on starts to crack? I wanted them to suffer. Not just individually. I wanted them to hate each other. So, I planted a seed. I created a fake email account, using Lisa's old password. Then, I sent an email from Lisa to Matthew. Matthew, I'm scared. I don't know if this was a mistake. Maybe Dan didn't deserve this. Maybe we rushed into this too fast. And then, I sent another email. This time, from Matthew to Lisa. Lisa, I don't know if I can do this anymore. This wasn't what I thought it would be. I need time to think. And then, I sat back and let the poison sink in. Let the doubt creep into their minds. Let the paranoia fester. They would start questioning each other. Wondering if one of them was regretting their choices. Fights would start. Trust would crumble. The perfect love they thought they had. It would rot from the inside out. And I would be watching from the sidelines, smiling. Step 4, take back my son. Michael had made his choice. But that didn't mean I was giving up on him. He was young. He didn't see what Lisa and Matthew were. But he would. Once the scandal broke, once Lisa and Matthew started turning on each other, once their new life became a nightmare, he would see the truth. And when that day came, I would be waiting. Not with anger. Not with revenge. But with open arms. Because no matter what he had said to me that night, no matter how much it had hurt, he was still my son. And Lisa and Matthew would be nothing more than a cautionary tale, I leaned back in my truck, taking a deep breath, feeling the weight in my chest finally start to lift. They thought I had lost. They thought they had won. But by the time I was done, they wouldn't just lose. They would wish they had never met me. And that? That was the real revenge. Revenge didn't have to be loud. It didn't have to be violent. It just had to be effective. Matthew had already taken everything from me, my wife, my home, my dignity. Now, it was time to take something from him. His comfort. His sanity. His pride. I knew Lisa. I knew her habits, her routines. And I knew she loved pampering herself with expensive, luxury bath products, the kind that came in glass bottles with fancy French names. Matthew? He was part of her world now, which meant he used them too. That was my way in. The setup. I waited until they were out of the house. Lisa hadn't even bothered to change the locks, another mistake. She assumed I was gone, licking my wound somewhere, too broken to fight back. She had no idea I was standing in her bathroom, staring at the rows of neatly arranged beauty products. My fingers traced over each one until I found what I needed. Her body wash. A fancy, overpriced gel that she probably convinced Matthew to start using too. Perfect. From my pocket, I pulled out a small container of powdered menthol and crushed capsaicin extract, harmless, but hellishly effective. Menthol would create a cold, tingling burn. Capsaicin, the chemical in hot peppers, would make it unbearable. And the best part? Water reactivates it. The more he tried to wash it off, the worse it would get. I carefully mixed it into the bottle, shaking it gently to blend it without changing the texture. It wouldn't look or smell different. Just another day in Lisa's perfect little bathroom. Then, I left. All I had to do now was wait. The fallout. That night, I got a message from an unknown number. Michael, did you do something? My pulse jumped. I hesitated before typing back. Me, what are you talking about? A few minutes passed before his next message came through. Michael, Mom's freaking out. Matthew's losing his mind. Said something, burned him in the shower. Thinks it's an allergic reaction. Wants to go to urgent care. I leaned back in my chair, picturing it. Matthew, stepping into the shower, lathering himself up, completely unaware. The first tingle hitting his skin. Then, the heat. The itching. The fire. His hands clawing at himself, trying to rinse it off, only to make it worse. I could almost hear Lisa's panicked voice, trying to calm him down while he cursed, probably accusing her of bringing some weird bacteria into the house. I smiled. And then, I sent my final message. Maybe he should get tested. And just like that, the seed was planted. Matthew wouldn't just be uncomfortable. He'd be paranoid. Because once a man starts itching down there, he starts wondering where it came from. And Lisa would be the first person he blamed. Their perfect little love story. About to rot from the inside out. The next morning, I sat at a diner, sipping my coffee, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. It was a beautiful morning. Somewhere across town, Matthew was probably squirming in his seat, shifting uncomfortably, fighting the phantom burn between his legs. I almost felt bad for him. Almost. Lisa and Matthew had built their perfect little fantasy world, thinking I would disappear. Thinking I would just accept what they had done to me. But now, that world was cracking. And I was going to make sure those cracks spread. Step 1, let the paranoia sink in. Lisa was a liar. I had lived with her for 17 years, I knew how she operated. She could manipulate, twist, deceive. But there was one thing she could never do. Handle pressure. Lisa panicked when things didn't go her way. And Matthew? Matthew was a lawyer. His whole career was built on questioning people's motives, on poking holes in their stories. So what happens when a lawyer wakes up one morning with mystery burning in his genitals? He starts asking questions. And Lisa wouldn't have the answers. Step 2, pour gasoline on the fire. That afternoon, I created a new anonymous email account. burningquestions69@protonmail.com. Childish? Sure. But effective. Then, I sent a message. To Matthew. From, Anonymous. Subject, how well do you know Lisa? Might want to ask Lisa about her past. She wasn't always so careful. Maybe it's nothing. Maybe it's something. Just thought you should know. No details. No accusations. Just doubt. Because doubt is all it takes to destroy trust. Step 3, watch the fireworks. That night, Michael called me. I almost didn't answer. Almost. But no matter what had happened between us, he was still my son. I picked up. Yeah. Michael hesitated. They're fighting. I smiled to myself. Who? You know who. His voice was tight. Mom and Matthew. It's bad. I said nothing, letting him fill the silence. Michael exhaled sharply. Matthew's been acting weird all day. Kept adjusting his pants, like he was uncomfortable. Then I heard him asking Mom about her exes. About you. I leaned forward. And what did she say? Michael scoffed. She flipped out. Got defensive. Told him he was being ridiculous. I chuckled. And he believed her. No, Michael hesitated. Dad. I think he's starting to doubt her. I closed my eyes, savoring the words. The cracks were widening. Lisa's perfect life. Slipping through her fingers. And the best part? I hadn't laid a single hand on them. Step 4, drive the wedge deeper. I waited a full day before making my next move. Then, I sent Lisa an anonymous message. To Lisa. From, Anonymous. Subject, you should be more careful. Men like Matthew don't forgive easily. Once they start questioning things, they don't stop. Are you sure he believes you? Are you sure he isn't talking to someone else right now? Lisa would read that message. She would panic. She would start watching Matthew more closely, wondering if he had stopped trusting her. And Matthew would feel the shift. The paranoia. The suspicion. They wouldn't talk about it openly, not yet. But the rot had begun. And there was no stopping it now. Step 5, wait for the collapse. By the time the weekend rolled around, I had already heard from Michael twice. They're barely speaking, he had told me. Lisa was nervous. Matthew was distant. She didn't understand why. He didn't know who to trust. And me? I was just getting started. They say trust is like glass. Once it cracks, it never goes back to the way it was. Lisa and Matthew's little love story. It was shattered. All it took was a little itching, doubt, and well-placed whispers. Now, I just had to watch them destroy each other. Step 1, a taste of betrayal. I knew what was coming before Michael even called me. Lisa and Matthew had been fighting for days. Every time he winced, shifted in his seat, adjusted his pants, he was thinking about it. Wondering. Obsessing. And Lisa? Lisa was unraveling. She had built her life on the illusion of control, on being the perfect woman, the one who was always wanted, admired, trusted. But now? Now her new man didn't trust her. Now she was defensive. And Matthew? He was paranoid. So, I sent him another anonymous message. To Matthew. From, Anonymous. Subject, You sure she was only cheating with you? Lisa was never good at being loyal. You think you were the only one? Ask her about the others. Ask her why she got tested before she even met you. And then? I let her own past destroy her. Step 2, make Lisa desperate. Michael called me the next night, his voice low. Mom's losing it. I smiled. Tell me. Michael exhaled sharply. She keeps checking Matthew's phone. They're arguing about something, but she won't tell me what. Of course not. She was trying to control the damage. Trying to figure out who had put these ideas in Matthew's head. Trying to pull him back before he slipped away completely. But it was too late. Step 3, deliver the final blow. Lisa was suffocating Matthew now, watching him too closely, pressing him for reassurance, trying to act like everything was fine. And Matthew? Matthew was not a man who liked feeling trapped. So I gave him an escape. One last nudge. I waited until I knew Lisa would be out, probably at some desperate lunch with her friends, pretending her life wasn't falling apart. Then, I sent Matthew a text. Not an email. Not an anonymous note. A text. From Lisa's phone. Lisa, I'm sorry. I never wanted you to find out this way. I just didn't know how to tell you. I deleted the evidence, put the phone back, and walked away. Lisa would have no idea what the hell he was talking about when Matthew confronted her. And Matthew? Would think she was lying. Again. The perfect couple. Dead. Step 4, let the house collapse. The next night, Michael's voice was shaking. They had a huge fight, he whispered. Matthew left. I closed my eyes, savoring it. I had imagined this moment 1,000 times, Lisa standing in the house she stole, realizing she was alone. That the man she threw her family away for didn't want her anymore. That she had traded a marriage for nothing. That she had destroyed everything, and in the end, she was the one who got betrayed. Poetic, wasn't it? The perfect ending to the perfect lie. And the best part? I wasn't even done yet. Lisa might have lost Matthew, but she still had one thing left, her comfort. Her house. Her money. That was about to change. She had built her world on my hard work, my paychecks, my sacrifices. And even though she had humiliated me, she still expected to live the same life. Not anymore. Step 1, cut her off. Lisa had been living in our house. The mortgage was in my name. The car she drove? Mine. And since we were still legally married, I had full control over certain financial accounts. So, one by one, I shut them down. The joint credit card? Cancelled. The utilities in my name? Disconnected. The monthly auto payment for the mortgage? Stopped. And just to twist the knife, I transferred what little joint savings we had into my personal account before Lisa could get her hands on it. Lisa wasn't just losing her new life. She was about to lose everything. Step 2, drowning in debt. Lisa had been spending freely, thinking that my money would always be there. She wasn't smart with it. She had credit cards in her name, and I knew for a fact that she had never been good with budgeting. So, I made sure she felt it. I anonymously reported suspicious activity on her credit accounts. That froze them for review, weeks without access to her own money. I called the mortgage company and informed them of upcoming legal disputes over property ownership. That triggered a hold on any refinancing she might have tried. I left a few tips with local debt collectors, anonymously, of course, about her outstanding balances. Just enough to trigger harassment calls. She was about to drown, and no one was coming to save her. Step 3, the career kill shot. Lisa loved her social status. Her charity events, her reputation. But now? Now she was a broke, desperate woman trying to hold on to the last pieces of her life. And people could smell it. I made sure that her colleagues, her social circle, and her charity board members all knew about her financial troubles. How? Simple. I sent out an anonymous email to a few key figures in her world. Subject: Concerns about Lisa, last name. I regret to inform you that Lisa may no longer be in the financial position to maintain her obligations within your organization. You may want to reconsider her involvement before it becomes an issue. That was all it took. Gossip spread fast. By the end of the week, Lisa wasn't just losing her home and money, she was losing her status. Step 4, make sure she knows who did this. Lisa wasn't stupid. She would figure it out eventually. And I wanted her to. So, I sent her a single message. No threats. No insults. Just the cold truth. Me, actions have consequences, Lisa. Welcome to yours. She didn't reply. She didn't have to. She knew. She knew. And that? That was the best part. Part 10, Matthew's final humiliation. Lisa wasn't the only one who needed to suffer. Matthew had walked into my life and taken everything. Now, it was time to return the favor. Step 1, the corporate poison pill. Matthew's firm had already started whispering about his relationship with Lisa. But I needed to make it worse. So, I gathered the dirtiest details, screenshots of their explicit messages, timeline breakdowns of their affair overlapping with my marriage, anything that would make him look like an unethical, untrustworthy man. And I sent it directly to his firm's biggest clients. No firm wants a scandal attached to their lawyers. And just like that, Matthew wasn't just dealing with internal problems anymore. Now he was radioactive. Step 2, make him unhireable. Law is a cutthroat industry. A lawyer's reputation is everything. So, I took it a step further. I wrote fake reviews under his name online. Unethical lawyer, sleeps with married clients. Wouldn't trust him with a parking ticket, let alone my business. Has a history of betraying those closest to him. Beware. I called competing firms pretending to be a concerned citizen, warning them about a scandal involving him. By the time I was done, no respectable law firm would touch him. Step 3, send him crawling. Matthew's career was done. His relationship was in flames. His money was drying up. And that's when I sent the final message. Me, you should have stayed in your own lane. This time. He did reply. A long, pathetic message about how things got out of hand, and how he didn't mean for it to happen this way. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. I had already won. Part 11, Taking Back My Son. Michael had watched everything unfold. He saw his mother unravel. He saw Matthew lose everything. And now, for the first time, he saw me differently. Not as the man who had been cheated on. Not as the weak, broken father. But as the man who never stopped fighting. He called me one night, voice quieter than usual. Dad? I exhaled slowly. Yeah. Can I come stay with you for a while? I closed my eyes, letting the moment sink in. Michael had made his choice. And this time, it was me. Michael had finally seen the truth. He had watched his mother's world crumble. He had watched Matthew go from the smug, confident lawyer who stole his family to a broken, humiliated man with nothing left. And now, he wanted to come back to me. But I wasn't going to make this easy. Not for Lisa. Not for Matthew. They had spent months making me feel like I was nothing. Like I was the problem. Like I was the one who needed to disappear. Now, they would learn what it felt like to be on the other side. Step 1, make Lisa beg. When Michael asked to come stay with me, I didn't say yes immediately. Not because I didn't want him back. But because I wanted Lisa to feel it. So, I made him go back home for one more night. And I waited. Less than 24 hours later. My phone rang. It was Lisa. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. And again. Until finally, she texted. Lisa, Dan, we need to talk. Please call me. I smirked. No, Lisa. You need to talk. You need something from me now. And that meant I was in control. I waited an hour before responding. Me, what is there to talk about? A minute passed. Then another. Then, finally. Lisa, Michael says he wants to live with you. I let her sweat a little before I answered. Me, and? Lisa, Dan, he's still my son too. I laughed. Actually laughed. Me, now you care about being a parent? No response. I could picture her sitting in that empty house, staring at her phone, realizing that she had no power over me anymore. Lisa, the woman who thought she could replace me. Lisa, the woman who threw away her family for a man who had already abandoned her. And now, she was alone. Exactly where she deserved to be. Step 2, the final goodbye. The next day, I picked Michael up. Lisa was waiting in the doorway, trying to hold it together. She had done her makeup, put on one of those dresses she used to wear when she wanted to look perfect. Like she thought she could fix this. Hey, kid, I said as Michael tossed his bag into my truck. He gave me a small smile. Hey, Dad. Lisa cleared her throat. Michael, sweetheart, are you sure about this? Michael didn't even hesitate. Yeah, Mom. I'm sure. Her face fell. I didn't say a word to her. Didn't acknowledge her. Just turned to my son. Let's go. And as we drove away, I saw her in the rearview mirror, standing alone in the doorway of the house she had ruined, watching her son leave her behind. That was the last time I ever looked back. Part 13, Let the Silence Destroy Her. Lisa tried calling for the next few weeks. She left voicemails. Sent texts. Begged for me to talk to her. I never answered. And that? That broke her more than anything else I could have done. Because Lisa could handle screaming. She could handle fights. She could handle drama. But being ignored, being treated like she was nothing, that was her personal hell. Step 1, let her feel the emptiness. Lisa had spent months making me feel like I was replaceable. Like my place in our family, in her life, meant nothing. So, I gave that feeling back to her. She wasn't blocked. She wasn't cut off. She was just, nothing. A name in my phone. A voice I would never respond to again. And that? That was worse than screaming at her could ever be. Step 2, make sure she never moves on. Lisa was ruined financially. Her reputation was in shambles. Her friends had distanced themselves, no one wants to be associated with a disgraced socialite. And dating? Good luck. I made sure any man who showed interest in Lisa would know exactly what kind of woman she was. Anonymous messages. Fake warning posts on local forums. A reputation so toxic that no man would ever trust her again. Lisa wanted to trade me for a better option. But now? She had no options left. Step 3, let time finish the job. Time is a funny thing. It doesn't just heal wounds, it deepens them if you let it. Lisa had once been the woman who had everything. Now, she had nothing. No love. No status. No family. Just an empty house and the memories of the life she destroyed. And that? That was the most perfect revenge of all. I thought about Matthew sometimes. Not often. Not with anger. Just curiosity. Where was he now? A disgraced lawyer, struggling to find work. A man with no trust left in him, probably too paranoid to ever date again. I imagined him waking up in some shitty apartment, staring at the ceiling, wondering how the hell his life had turned out this way. Wondering how everything went so wrong. And the best part? He had done it to himself. I never laid a hand on him. Never threatened him. I just let the truth eat him alive. 1 year later, I stood on the balcony of my new home. Michael was inside, watching TV, laughing at something. A sound I hadn't heard in a long, long time. I had won. Not because I had destroyed Lisa and Matthew. Not because I had taken back everything they stole from me. But because I had walked away with my son, my dignity, and my peace. And them? They had nothing. And they never would again. I took a deep breath, exhaling slowly. For the first time in a long time, I felt free. I picked up my phone, scrolled through my messages. Lisa's name was still there. I hovered over it. Then, with a final, satisfied smirk, I deleted it. Epilogue: the woman who lost everything. Lisa never recovered. Not from the humiliation. Not from the financial ruin. Not from the loneliness that wrapped around her life like a slow-moving disease, eating away at everything she once was. The aftermath. After Matthew left her, things spiraled fast. She tried to fix things, tried to cling to the life she had built on lies and stolen happiness. But there was nothing left. Her so-called friends, the same women who used to envy her, now avoided her. She wasn't a queen anymore. She was pitiful. A woman who lost her husband, her lover, and her son. And in their world, that made her nobody. She lost her spot on the charity board. She stopped getting invitations to events. The whispers never stopped. Did you hear? Her new man dumped her. Her husband took everything. She tried to act like she was better than everyone, and now she's nothing. She went from glamorous dinner parties to eating alone in a dark kitchen, staring at a phone that never rang. The house she couldn't keep. After I cut her off, she struggled to pay the mortgage. At first, she tried to hold on to it. She fought, took out loans, maxed out credit cards, begged for favors. But debt is a slow-moving knife, and it cut her apart piece by piece. 3 months later, she lost the house. She packed her things, leaving behind the home she had destroyed, dragging whatever dignity she had left to a small, one-bedroom apartment on the other side of town. No fancy neighborhood. No gated community. Just cheap furniture and silence. A prison of her own making. Lisa the Forgotten. She tried dating again. But no man would take her seriously. The whispers followed her everywhere. She wasn't a prize anymore. She was a warning. She tried to reach out to Michael. But he had nothing to say to her. He had chosen me. And Lisa? Lisa spent her nights alone, replaying the past in her mind, wondering where it all went so horribly wrong. And the best part? The moment she finally realized the truth. That she had done it to herself. The last message. One night, months later, I got a text from an unknown number. I knew who it was before I even opened it. Lisa, I miss Michael. I miss everything. I don't know what to do anymore. For a moment, I just stared at it. At the pathetic desperation in those words. The same woman who had looked me in the eye and erased me from her life. Now begging for a sliver of what she threw away. I thought about responding. I thought about telling her the truth, that there was nothing left for her. That she was just a name from my past. But instead, I deleted the message. No response. No closure. Just silence. And that was the final punishment. Lisa, once the woman who had it all, would die alone, in a life that had nothing left to take. The real victory. I didn't need to watch her suffer. I didn't need to see the pain on her face. Because I already knew. Lisa was living in her own personal hell, every single day. And me? I had my son, my peace, and my freedom. I had one. And she would spend the rest of her life knowing it. Bye-bye.